What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another episode of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. It's time for us to get into the final mailbag of the year, the final mailbag of 2019, the final mailbag of the decade, whatever it is you want to constitute it as. It's the December 2019 mailbag edition. Not a whole lot of questions this time around. I know we just did one, and that's one of the reasons why. So this is going to be a pretty speedy podcast. And, we got the new normal breakdown here. You're going to answer the questions that you guys had submitted. Not all of them. Again, of course, we're doing it pretty quickly. But that's how this works. It's pretty simple. Questions, answers. That's what a mailbag's about. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango. And joining me, as always, are Callum Wiggins.
Yes.
And Robert DeFelice.
Yes, I am too.
Yes, I am 3. And, normal setup here, guys. If you want to chime in with your answers for these questions, then go ahead and do that in the comments section below. Obviously, you can't do that on the audio-only platforms, so if you're listening to us on TuneIn or Spotify or Google Play or Stitcher or iTunes or any of the other kind of things like that, hop on over to the YouTube channel. While you're there, hit that subscribe button, ring that little bell for the notifications, like the video, and leave a comment below. And we're just going to get this ball rolling here with Brendan's question. Do you feel that if she wasn't so injury-prone, Alexa Bliss can be what Becky Lynch is today? No, I think. As much as I'm a big fan of Alexa Bliss, I think that she already got a huge push when she came onto the main roster. I mean, she hadn't won the NXT championship, and it seemed like she was kind of getting called up a little bit early. But she ended up being one of the first champions on SmackDown, and then went right over to Raw, won the championship there. Multiple-time champion. She's like a 5-time champion now or something like that.
I think it's well more than 5.
It might be. You factor in the Women's Tag Team Championship, too. But she's accomplished a lot. Money in the Bank winner, too. And, she won Money in the Bank, right? Yeah.
Correct.
So, she's gotten a lot already, and I feel like the injuries maybe actually kind of helped her, because people tend to get sick of people that are on the top, and I'm surprised it hasn't happened with Becky Lynch yet, because it happened with Ziggler, it happened with Rollins, it happened with practically everybody.
It's happening with Becky. It's just they're not as quick to call attention to it because everybody, I think, is cool that a woman is the man, to quote that stupid video game commercial. But I think it's happening with Becky.
Well, I think that's helped Alexa Bliss a little bit, because she hasn't really quite gone through that. And there's also something about the 4 Horsewomen. For some reason, they seem like they're in this different class than other people. She wasn't a part of that. So she's already a bona fide Hall of Famer for the future. And I think I'm going to echo what Callum would probably say, which is that Alexa Bliss, admittedly, not as good in the ring as Becky Lynch. So that's another thing.
But she's better as a character.
No, she's not better as a character.
I think she is.
I think what differentiates her from Becky Lynch is that Becky Lynch is a wrestler, and it's not just in terms of in-ring, but it's in her promo style and in her character, whereas Alexa Bliss is an actress who, I don't say plays a wrestler very well. She's not as good in the ring, as capable in the ring as Becky is, and her promo style is like, she's very good at reading scripts. Whereas I think Becky's stuff, it feels like it's a lot more her that's put into it, more than Alexa just is given what she does and she makes the best of it. Which is still like a worthwhile quality. It's something that not a lot of people on the roster can do. I just don't feel that that's why she wouldn't be able to develop as organic a babyface reaction with the crowd that Becky Lynch has managed to do.
Well, to me, this is like asking if Triple H could have been as big as Austin, and Triple H is good, but Austin caught fire. You don't just you can't manufacture that.
Also, the thing about something about Becky Lynch is the fact that she gives off the impression that she is intimidating. Whereas I don't think Alexa has ever given off the impression that she could really, like, if she was to go into a real fight scenario, you couldn't imagine Alexa Bliss coming out of it, the other side of it, well. Whereas Becky at least gives the impression that she can just go in and kick anybody's ass.
Yeah, physically there's a difference between the two. Socially, Alexa Bliss would destroy people. She'd be this like the type of person in high school that would drive people to like cut themselves and stuff. You know?
Well, that's also the other point is that Alexa Bliss is a stronger heel character.
Mm-hmm.
So she wouldn't be what Becky Lynch is today, because even though she's playing a babyface now, it feels a little unnatural.
Yeah. So I don't quite think that it would be the case, but then again, I mean, you never really know. Who knows what would happen if you tweak a couple little things, because nobody thought that the Becky Lynch stuff was going to blow up as it was, because she had already had her chance, and she was already the, luck of the Irish type of babyface in NXT, and she came onto the main roster. She was still a babyface. She was a heel here and there, and nothing caught on like the way that she caught on last year. So
Nia Jax, maybe Nia needs to punch Alexa in the face. See what
maybe
happens.
that's the case. Let's go to Peter's questions. Are you really glad that we are friends and that this is a friendship that will never ever end? Speaking podcasters to audience. No, it's just kidding. Of course, as long as everybody lets me in. Not really.
Yeah,
much to say about this.
I wouldn't call us friends. I'd call us occasional acquaintances.
Callum is definitely Mercy the Buzzard.
How would we?
You're Rambling Rabbit.
Yeah, I completely am. Yeah.
Does that make me Huskus or Vince?
No, you're Abby the Witch. No, you're Abby the Witch.
Yeah, you're Abby.
All right, I'll take it. Peter asks, if Tony has a teaching degree and we are the class, are we passing the class? I'll give out satisfactory grades. It depends. Certain people aren't. Certain people in the comments definitely failing. Certain people that tweet at me here and there certainly failing.
Are they failing in the pop quiz? Who's a heel or face this week? That's kind of the...
Quick plug for something about that. I've mentioned it multiple times. I'll mention it on every episode because it's part of the standard plugs. But there's the Patreon now. The Patreon works the way that I'm sure you know by now how it works. But just in case you're brand new to this podcast, it's a Patreon. You just go on there, you donate to the different tiers. But one of the tiers is Pick Your Poison. If you want to take advantage of that and submit some kind of a request for a special feature, go ahead and do that. Coming up soon, we're going to do one for Guest 5 that is a second edition of Time Machine Dream Team. We are also going to do one for Marco, which is going to be one of the 4 different types of things. Either we're going to do a Superstar Scores or a Mount Rushmore. We haven't quite decided yet, but those things are coming up. And one of the other things that's happening with Patreon is that I am going to start doing the Darkcast things. Darkcast is going to be Patreon exclusive, and I don't know exactly how that's going to work yet. I also might still change the tiers and switch that up a little bit to maybe the Darkcast thing. If it's the $10 one instead of the $20, I might make it $15 just to kind of split the difference. I'm not entirely sure yet. Part of that depends on your fan feedback survey, so go ahead and click on that on the website, fill out the survey, give me the feedback of what we should change in 2024 Smark Out Moment. But another thing as part as the Darkcast goes is I know that people are really wanting me to chip in my thoughts on heel and face turns. I used to do the turn alert on the website where kind of like with the title changes, whenever they happen, I'll post my quick thoughts on when it happened and all that stuff. And I don't have the time to do that with the heel and face turns anymore, but people have been requesting it. So here's a middle ground. If you guys want it and you donate to the Patreon for either the $10 or $15 or $20 tier. I'm not too sure about the Darkcast thing yet. If you donate to it, I will do a bi-weekly heel or face turn recap. Putting it out there. I know you guys really love it. Think about it. And obviously the Patreon, if you are interested in more stuff on the Fanboys Anonymous side of things, go ahead and donate to that too. We just recently did the Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero fan track, so check that out. Again, thank you to Guest 5 for sponsoring that. If I have my teaching degree, if it applies to all the Smark Out Moment type stuff and whatever, does that mean that people can be substitute teachers and cover the bad stuff that I don't want to watch?
I thought that was the whole point of you trying to build the team.
Well, it doesn't work for
It hasn't worked, but I thought that was the purpose.
It'd be so great if I could just be like, all right, I'm gonna tag it in somebody else to watch like 3 weeks worth of material and download that into my brain without having to actually sit there and watch that. It doesn't work that way. Let's move on to another Peter question here. I saw under retired pay-per-views that Evolution was there. Do you think that they just retired the name or that we're not getting an all-female pay-per-view at all? Both. I don't think that they're doing it anymore. I think that they realized what I had said before, which was it's a one-time thing for the most part, and then it won't be special anymore without the manufactured WWE special idea. Because remember, when WWE acts like everything is the most special thing in the world, doesn't mean that it's true. And I know that there's an argument for why wouldn't they do one every year just for the sake of it. But to me, I don't know, just for the hell of it, doesn't apply all the time. And they didn't get the best amount of attention with that. It wasn't like that was like the breakout massive success that everybody watched that pay-per-view and they sold out the arena in super quick fashion or anything like that. I think it was a good enough success as it was, and if they do it again, it's going to make it look worse. So, at the very least, I don't think they're going to do Evolution. They might do another female-only pay-per-view thing. And they actually, was it last night or so, they did the all-female NXT live event?
That was on the 5th.
Oh, the 5th, okay. So, they're still going to do all-female-only things, but it might be an all-female-only episode of SmackDown. Or it might be, I don't know, some kind of NXT episode or, any other kind of things like that. It's not going to be 205 Live because that doesn't make any sense. But
we're not even getting any more 205 Live for the rest of this year.
We might not, other than recap stuff.
No, we're not. We're not. They announced it.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Wow. She goes to show how much they care about that. But what do you guys think about this whole Evolution thing? You think it's a mistake to retire that, or is it good enough, or are they going to come back with another name?
It served its purpose. I don't feel bad about saying that. I don't think it needs to happen again. Charlotte Flair has said, I would much rather be on the card with the men and main event over the men than have an all-women's card and be the main event, even though it's special and everybody does deserve a chance to shine. She'd rather shine on the card with the men to prove, hey, we are at your level and above you in some cases.
I understand that point of view in terms of the women have main evented a lot of or a fair portion of the shows this year. I mean, they just main evented the last 2 pay-per-views with the triple threat match with all the women's champions and then the women's tag team title TLC match. So they're still a bit in a high standing on the current pay-per-views. But I don't see why you wouldn't use Evolution if you could have it. It gets you good press. It gets a lot of people on your side because you're showcasing the women when you're meant to be doing this big women's evolution movement. I don't see why, as once you've given it and then you immediately take it away, you immediately open yourself up to a lot of negative backlash for really no reason. Because would it really hurt if we'd have gotten rid of one pay-per-view this year and put Evolution in instead? Probably wouldn't have done any damage.
It wouldn't have hurt, I don't think, but I'm guessing maybe they don't, and this is probably controversial, but maybe they don't have the confidence in their women to do it without Ronda.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Realistically, the reason why Evolution hasn't happened is that Ronda Rousey hasn't been here all year and the Bella Twins retired. That's basically the main reason.
And they don't have the older legends to rely on anymore because people have seen Trish and Lita, and Kelly Kelly's popped up and Tori Wilson's popped up, so it's not like there's that kind of factor to put in there too of being like, well, you haven't seen these people wrestle in a while. Well, we just did at the Royal Rumble, at Evolution, here or there.
It'd be interesting if there was some despotic country out there that only wanted the women to perform on shows as opposed to the men. Like pay them a huge ton of money to do that, then maybe we'd get another revolution.
I tell you what would be a good,
year.
A good middle ground that could happen. We had these stupid house show events that really sucked this year. Try one of those.
I thought they were going to do that when they announced that the NXT show on December 5th would be all women. I thought, oh, well, that's a network special if I've ever heard one. But no, we had to do Starrcade or Smackville.
Ugh. Another question here from Peter. Do you think that's... Oh, you know what? Good enough. Do you think that the special events can work if done right? Special events from My Story, 1 hour and a half war games. Okay, so he gets into the whole thing about splitting things up with the idea of like having more of like a featured match and going with those house show type things. Yeah, they can work. WWE has just been spending a lot of time this year not wanting to spend any time working. It's very obvious the way that a lot of the creative decisions have gone down this year that they didn't put a whole lot of effort into things, which is weird because you would think that this year in particular, they were going into it being like, we beg you guys, please listen to us. We're listening to you. We're changing a bunch of things. Yet so much of this year has been like, I don't know, just fucking do that again. Like the Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler and Baron Corbin teaming up all the time and stuff. That was like, just do it 6 times. Who cares if that's not a selling point anymore? And when you do stuff like that, that's supposed to be the Shield's final chapter, the way that you end this big thing. That's awful. Like, anybody who would take 10 minutes to actually plan things out and look at the card and look at the way that people are reacting online and just think logically. I mean, how many times do you have to run through the lesson that something is a repeat is not as good of a selling point as the first time ever? They're the company that loves saying first time ever. They should have realized that, but they didn't want to put in that effort. And I think that with these house show events, people are already looking at it as a quote-unquote glorified house show. You have to convince them otherwise. And you can't convince them otherwise if you put in 0 effort and do things like, we're going to announce a last man standing match between Rusev and Bobby Lashley, and our game plan is to have Lana and Lashley say, that's not happening. But Kevin Owens will come out and we'll wrestle a normal match. That doesn't work. The Fatal 4-Way for the women's tag titles, now that's a good enough selling point. If they had led as that being like, wow, we're finally going to do this whole 4 women teams against each other type thing, and maybe had one other match on the card that actually mattered, instead of Ric Flair is going to pop up and talk about how much his friends are dead and how upsetting that is.
Ooh.
Then yeah, we have a better selling point, So if you do something like Peter's suggestion of like a War Games type match, or the Undisputed Era against 4 people on the main roster in some kind of like big tag team clusterfuck type thing, yeah, people will want to tune in on that. You give them Mustafa Ali versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the Intercontinental title in a rematch, people aren't going to care.
I kind of just wonder why would that make it? It's just my thought of like, what's the difference between just a regular pay-per-view and one of these special events? If you were to do stuff like, I don't know, have a Team WWE against Team NXT thing that we've kind of already seen in a like Survivor Series, it doesn't. I don't think these house shows can really work, mainly because the thing about the house shows that makes them worth going to see is because the wrestlers do stuff in these matches they would never do on TV, or they would never do on a big show, because they goof around a lot more and they feel like they have a bit more freedom to do some stuff because nobody's watching. Well, nobody's watching in terms of outside of the people in that arena, so it can be like this special connection where they're only doing this stuff for these people, and then the next night they'll go to a different town. They might do something completely different in their match. I just don't feel like it's because once you put it onto the WWE Network, it just becomes another like mini version of Extreme Rules or something like that. It's just more content with no real incentive behind it because it's meant to be kind of outside. It still follows the current feuds that are going on because that's what the house shows do. They like prepare people with get some match training together between two people that are going to feud on TV soon. So it won't break away from the formula to be like so out of the loop that it's just a big special event. But it won't be so laden in storyline stuff that it won't have anything change or anything notable happen enough to make it worthwhile watching. So I just don't think. I think these specials are just the sake of just adding more content to the network to try and boost up their viewing figures.
Actually, I wanna jump back on that Evolution question real quick because Stephanie just did an interview with TalkSport where she said it is certainly something we're pushing for regarding Evolution 2. There's no official announcement just yet, and yes, our bigger focus was on the event in Saudi Arabia and having the women be allowed to perform. But I'm hopeful to have an announcement on Evolution 2, but there's nothing to announce just yet.
Okay, well, there you go. Possibility that they do it again in the future. Hell, they've brought back different events over the course of years and years afterwards, so never say never. But here's my kind of thought about the whole, like,
re-evolution.
I think that, like, if you do the house show thing based off of goofing around and all that for the majority of it that you don't air, then that's kind of the best of both worlds because then you can have like one or two, hopefully two, matches that take up that like hour chunk that you put on the network and you make them stuff that matters. Like, theoretically speaking, like if you were to say, okay, book a special thing with the Raw roster right now, I'd be like, all right, well, I don't know what feuds you'd be having at the time, but if you want to make sure that people tune in to the special event and you want to draw a big crowd for the house show, have Brock Lesnar defend the title. And it doesn't matter against who. I mean, he could be fighting Akira Tozawa. But remember that one show where he had fought the New Day? It was like, was it Beast in the East?
Yeah.
Like, that was kind of like a precursor to these special kind of network things. And they had some other matches
They did
on
it
that
twice
card.
with Brock. They did Brock and Big Show in New York City.
The Madison Square Garden show, yeah. So you could do stuff like that. You could have like, I don't know, the United States title is on the line and it's AJ Styles and Rey Mysterio and Ricochet and Andrade, and be like, hey, give these guys 40 minutes to put on a hell of a show. And it's going to be this fatal 4-way street fight type thing. I think people would want to tune in. But if you just go with, okay, we're going to do a special event, and like in the current climate, like right now on December 18th, if they were to do it, guaranteed they'd go Humberto Carrillo versus Andrade. And then it's like, well, fuck, we've seen that 3 times. We don't need to see it again, and I'm not going to tune in to watch it. That's the difference maker, I think. Whereas those two could wrestle on the house show portion of it that you don't air, where it doesn't need to be a selling point, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of see the logic behind that. I just don't feel like, first of all, it will happen because of the way they do things, and secondly, it just do that on your pay-per-views. Just do, the important matches on the pay-per-views. Why just add, I don't know, however many house show events or special events you want to do a year? Just make your pay-per-views even more special. Don't just feel like because especially if we take the approach that that you've suggested, which is totally valid, the idea of like putting these special matches that maybe last like 40 odd minutes or whatever on these big shows, then it makes the pay-per-views look even worse.
Well, that's the other thing too, is they need to stop doing this idea where it's like the pay-per-views are there just to build to the TV shows, which are just to build to the pay-per-views, which are just to build to whatever. They actually have to go back to the idea of TV is where some things happen, but you're building up towards the event, and then the event finishes things, and things matter, and, you know, because pay-per-views are supposed to be the main thing.
I think a gimmick. I think likely these smaller house shows would be more fitting of the gimmick type, like names, rather than having a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. You could have a Hell in a Cell special, which is built around just one big Hell in a Cell match that's taking place. Yeah,
that would be a good way of TLC. I mean, I hate TLC. I've said it a million times. But if you market a house show as being like, guys, it's going to be crazy. We're going to have tables, ladders, and chairs all over the place. It's going to be our TLC special coming up on September 8th or whatever the hell. Then people might go, I haven't seen a TLC match in a while, because people are stupid enough to think that that's a different match. And then, they might want to tune in to see a TLC match between the Usos and the Hardy Boys and the New Day or something. Well, probably not those teams, but you know what I mean? Or here's another philosophy behind it. I mean, WWE has way too much content as it is, so I would love to see them cut down on it. And I think that they're spreading themselves too thin. And if they want to make sure that people, because the whole idea with this house show thing is that they want to add that to an extra tier on the network. It's that and the like Evolve and all that other kind of stuff. If you want people to tune in for more content and pay more money, but you don't want to necessarily go through the effort of trying to make sure that it's an event that people actually want to tune in live, don't make them live. And instead, do something more like my idea that I had pitched before, where constitute it all as In Your House, bring back that name, and run like a weekly clip show type thing. And be like, here are some of the best things that have happened on house shows over the past week. And show like, there's this really good match between, who the fuck knows, Mojo Rawley against Shelton Benjamin that happened on this house show on Monday afternoon. Have Scott Stanford do it in the studio. Just introduce like, this match happened and this did whatever, and it happens every fucking Saturday or something. There you go. It's another way to get more content. And you don't have to advertise it as being like every week we got a live special and here's the big selling point. Just be like, no, here's another episode of In Your House. You want to check out the house show stuff? This thing was funny and this thing happened, and that'd be a way to do that, I think.
And I've always been a proponent of like, you don't go to the Garden often. So your December 26th show is a house show at the Garden every year. Put it on the network every year. You don't have just call it WWE Live at Madison Square Garden and let people watch if they want. Let them, go back and watch it one day. Stuff like that is harmless to me, and I think more content for the network is always good, and that's a very easy way of doing it.
Hell, set up a stationary camera. 2 of them. One on the entrance thing, and you don't even really need one on the entrance. Set up one camera that's like a hard camera just for the ring itself, and you don't have to pay more people even. Just be like, all right, you want to watch this live? Go ahead and watch it live. The end. Let's go to another plug here. Merchandise shops, TeePublic and Redbubble. Go ahead and pick up a t-shirt or any of the other types of merchandise if you want to. And obviously, if you have the spare change too. There's 2 different shops for the Smark Out Moment side of things, the A Mango Tees side of things, and Fanboys Anonymous. Obviously, if you don't know what fanboysanonymous.com is by now, then I don't know what to tell you, other than the fact that it's my geek culture website. So go over to fanboysanonymous.com, check out movie reviews, check out all the things that I've mentioned before, and follow that Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe to that YouTube channel, and blah, 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 blah. You know that stuff. Do you think that Sami Zayn is starting to get ready to retire and go into only being a manager? No, but I think that he's having fun doing what he's doing right now. And as far as I'm aware, there aren't any reports that he's currently still injured, right? Where is he?
They're just utilizing him as a manager because they have nothing for him. So since you can talk.
I thought that was the case. How you guys feeling about him being a manager? I actually really like him doing what he's doing.
It's not the worst thing.
It's really, really bad.
Really? You think so?
Okay, we got 3 different levels here.
Well, he's so obnoxious, but it's not in a way where I want to see him get his ass kicked. I just want to switch off the TV when he starts talking. I know that's kind of been his shtick for a while, but when he started off doing it, it was kind of interesting. But it's been going on for so long, this character that just shits on the audience. And I know that I've gone on the past about saying how my views on wrestling fans in certain situations as well, but I don't expect that to be I don't expect that to go over well either most of the time, but it's just a case of it's too much. He's so over the top. He's so overbearing. And he's the most egregious thing about it to me is he's such a good wrestler. It's not like they have everything for anybody at the moment. I mean, how many people do you think they have real, in-depth storyline ideas for? And yet Sami Zayn is the one who has to sit on the sidelines the entire time.
Well, in-depth storylines would require work.
Yeah, exactly. but it's just the case of certain other people. I mean, is Chad Gable in a really in-depth storyline right now? Why isn't he just being a manager for somebody instead? Then if Sami Zayn is the reason is because he's hurting and he does want to just be a manager for the time being, then fair enough. He's gotten the right to do what he wants to do. But if he is capable of wrestling and he does want to wrestle, then do something with him.
My biggest issue, and I don't know if I've talked to Callum about this, but I've said it to Tony enough. Why is he a heel? Here's a guy who is a vegan, literally calls out homophobes to their face. This guy is what a babyface is in today's environment. Why is he a villain? And I know the answer. It's Vince is stuck in his ways and he doesn't understand what it is to be a vegan and, not want to be called a fag. But I don't get it. He should be the biggest babyface. He should have always been the biggest babyface. It was a cool experiment when they turned him with Kevin, but he should have always been like the Ricky Steamboat of the bunch.
I think I'm more open to the idea of him as the heel doing this kind of stuff because it's different than some of the other managers that we've gotten. Spoiler alert for the end of the year awards. He's getting my best manager thing.
We don't have managers nowadays anyway. He's kind of out there on his own really at the moment.
No, there's still a couple other people. I mean, there's like the Lana's kind of like, valet manager type with Bobby Lashley, and you got, I mean, right now we don't have Leo Rush anymore, but he was there and with Bobby Lashley, funny enough. Paige was there with Kabuki Warriors, Paul Heyman for Lesnar. There's still those people and everything, but I like.
So only Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar, and Japanese talent need managers.
Well, the WWE philosophy. But I think that it's interesting to take some elements of that. I mean, for instance, like calling out the homophobe, like totally a babyface move, but that's not something that was on their programming, But then you get the guy that slaps down the ham and doesn't want it because, he's a vegan, and it's like, well, you made Otis sad, and I'm like, hey, asshole, he gave you a ham. By the way, I'm eating ham for dinner tonight, so I guess that's one of the reasons why I think that's a very heel move.
Ham is delicious.
Ham is very good. You're missing out, Sammy. I don't think that he's retiring, though. If he is dealing with injuries, then this is a good way to keep him on TV and not have him get his ass beat and make that worse. But if they can turn that into a situation where he wrestles again, that would be 10 times better. And he can still cut those same promos, There's nothing that stops him, other than potential injuries, from being in a 3-way tag team with Cesaro and Nakamura. He doesn't have to be their manager, And I like that trio to what it's kind of going. I still think Cesaro would be very well off going to NXT UK and beating Walter, but that doesn't seem to be on the cards. So, I don't know. We'll see. Do the shoulders have to be on the mat in War Games? Just asking because Jessica Carr pulled the chair from underneath Baszler before counting 3. Yep.
Yes,
Standard.
it's a match, bro.
Yeah, standard match rules. It's not like the false count anywhere type thing. So WWE doesn't really care too much about that in certain situations. Like, you've seen people get pinned on top of a table when they've gone through it in the past, and they've done stuff like that before, but I think that part of that's just sort of like, she's doing her job. She's like, well, there's no need to have this there. You don't need to be laying down on top of a chair for this to work. And that way you don't have any arguments about the fact that she was on top of the chair and all that.
And it's probably less uncomfortable for the 3 to 5 seconds you have to be down there,
Yeah. Final question, actually. Do you think that WWE will pair John Morrison and Miz together or make them feud? Same question for Sheamus and Cesaro. So first off, what do you think will happen? Then we'll get into what do you want to happen. Do you guys think that they're going to make Miz and Morrison feud or pair up?
I think Morrison just comes back in the Rumble and kind of sits in mediocrity for a bit. I would like Miz and Morrison against the New Day at WrestleMania for the SmackDown tag titles.
I think that initially they'll be kept fairly separate. They might do a Miz TV segment where they just have them talk, and maybe they'll team up once and then they'll go their separate ways. I think the real money with those two, if there is any money to be made, is them feuding as opposed to being as a team. And the Miz should be heel for that, realistically. That's so ready for the Miz to go back to being heel.
That's part of the equation you have to figure out. If they feud, one of them has to turn, and either they give up on the Miz as babyface, which, like Callum says, some could argue they should, or you go with Morrison tries to be a heel again. And I don't quite think that Morrison can do the heel thing right now. I think that he's going to come back as a babyface well enough that they need to kind of ride that wave a little bit. But they're friends, and they have great chemistry together. And the dirt sheet was great. And for that matter, Miz and Morrison, actually one of my favorite tag teams of all time. I really liked them a lot together. And if they team up again, that could give The Miz something more to do, because he's been really floundering in 2019. He had that horrible Shane McMahon feud, and that didn't do him any justice whatsoever. And now he's like, his most recent thing was he couldn't even wrestle for the title when he lost it at TLC. So it depends on where they want to go with The Miz. It also depends on where they want to put John Morrison, because if he's not on SmackDown, then they're not going to do anything together. He could very easily go to NXT. And that might be part of his deal. He might not want to do the regular touring kind of thing with WWE, and maybe they put him on NXT and he works out with the younger talent and puts some people over and wrestles people like Finn Balor and Adam Cole and so on and so forth. So if that's the case, they're going to be separate and they won't do anything. But
I think if they were going to go with Morrison on NXT, they would have announced it. It would have been very on NXT with the announcement and the appearances and stuff like that.
Well, for that matter, too, if they would have wanted to make him be a surprise on a Raw or SmackDown, they shouldn't have announced it ahead of time either,
Logic.
Royal Rumble, too. Like, that would have been a hell of a Royal Rumble pop if he would have just popped up. And,
would it, though?
Yeah, because it's Royal Rumble.
It's John Morrison.
I see what you're saying. No, I'll agree.
If it's like, for love it or hate it, if it's Kevin Nash or it's Booker T in that Rumble when they come back, then yeah, you're going to get a big pop. But it's John Morrison.
We've gotten bigger pops for people that are lesser than Morrison, I think.
Name one.
I'd argue Jimmy Snuka, Madison Square Garden, doesn't deserve as much.
Legend. Jimmy Snuka's a legend. A horrible human being, and we're never gonna say anything good about him besides it. But he was like
it was Jimmy Snuka in Madison Square Garden, dude. Like,
I don't know. To me, there's a disconnect. Maybe I'm totally wrong about that. To me, I'm like, it's Snuka. I never really cared.
Yeah, I said the Boogeyman. I don't know if that's lesser, but he did get a hell of a pop in 2015.
I mean, he's lesser as like a wrestler and like definitely had a lesser stay, but you can understand it with the Boogeyman just because of just him just being a funny character. I mean, Morrison, former Intercontinental champion, and other than that, really didn't do much. And obviously had the tag team with the Miz, then was Intercontinental champion, and then kind of just stuck around for a while.
He was also easy to be champion and tag team with Mercury.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of more along the lines of.
And
I think
here's
the highest ceiling he beyond like 2009, 2010, he really didn't mean anything in WWE.
the thing you're not taking into account is there's a lot of people like younger than us, and even like I forget the wrestler's name, but I saw it on their Instagram today, and they were like, "Oh my God, CM Punk was my favorite, and I love when he won the title." So it's like there is a generation of people who have that nostalgia for Morrison that we might not have because we saw his whole run kind of with, Smark blinders on already.
I would have more faith in that side of things if I didn't know that the WWE average age of the audience skews over 50 years old. So
I don't understand that. I read the ratings every week. I don't get how that is consistently the number, because if you look in the WWE crowd, it's not like, look at all these dads here and these granddads. It's
it's mainly due to the fact that the television audience, not everyone consumes WWE through traditional television anymore.
Yeah,
and it will typically be the older audience that does that anyway. So I understand that number is definitely wrong, as it were, but I still think that there is a lesser pool of these. Like, you're not going to get the same reaction to someone like Morrison coming back that you would do for, I don't know, somebody who was around in the Attitude Era. They would still get bigger pops.
Yeah.
But that's not an argument. Like, Attitude Era will always get a bigger pop.
And it depends on the person too. Like if you do The Godfather, he gets bigger pops. But if you were to do Flash Funk, people would be like, "The fuck is this guy?" Like.
Yeah, but I feel like Morrison's one of those guys. Morrison is a Flash Funk.
He's definitely better than Flash Funk.
You guys are coming at Flash Funk pretty hard here. What do you guys got against Too Cold Scorpio?
I think it's Too Cold Scorpio. Yeah. It's like saying I don't have anything wrong with I don't have anything wrong with Too Cold Scorpio, but I have problems with Flash Funk. It's like saying I don't have a problem with John Moxley, but Dean Ambrose, they're different guys.
They're completely different guys.
Yeah.
Well, then you got to start gauging who would get a better pop, the Godfather or Papa Shango. I mean, Papa Shango's not popping his name.
Shango definitely would get a bigger pop.
Shango would get a bigger pop because they haven't done anything with him in like 25 years.
Yeah.
But I kind of put Morrison in the same sort of situation as a lot of different other people that they would be guaranteed to get a pop at the Royal Rumble just because they're a surprise at the very least. And it wouldn't be the type of thing that it's like, I don't know, they decided to put in, why am I thinking of this name? But like Eddie Gilbert, where it would be like, huh? And it's kind of confusing.
He's notable enough that definitely people would react to. I just feel like I kind of put Morrison in the same thing as like if Carlito came back.
Yeah.
It's like you might get a little bit of a pop for it, but it's like, but it would just be, oh, it's Carlito, and then it just immediately dies because it's just like, it's Carlito. Yeah.
Todd Grisham comes back just to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be a Matt Stryker Mark Out Moment type of flip out, the crowd goes crazy type thing.
I mean, the best thing that we can hope for with Morrison when he does hopefully come back into the Rumble is that he'll do a Kofi spot. But that's
that's how I
and now that's Ricochet spot as well now. So we're just going to see like, I don't know, about 10 guys just doing handstands on the outside of the ring at the same time.
That's exactly what they'll do. They'll have 2 or 3 guys in there who can do it, and they'll just be doing their spots at the same time, like who can outdo the other and how to save yourself.
And then they're all thrown over at the same time by Baron Corbin.
Or you know what? I would think that would be amazing.
Yeah, I know you would.
I would totally be up for the idea of, oh my God, we saved ourselves a bunch of time, and then Baron Corbin goes, fuck you, and just knocks them all down. I'd probably
one
put
thing
that
Baron Corbin needs, and that's more heat.
Yeah. Give it to him. Best heel.
Tony, what's your middle name again?
Yeah, I think that Miz Morrison as a tag team, I really want to see more so than a feud, but it all depends on where they go. Now with Sheamus and Cesaro, you know what? To be honest, part of me is thinking that this is a red herring that Sheamus is saying all this stuff that about like he's going to take back SmackDown and fuck up people like Mustafa Ali. I kind of think he's going to come back as a babyface. I have no idea why, but my brain is telling me that they're setting me up to think that he's going to be a just back to normal regular heel the way that he's always been, and that he might end up like kicking the head off of, I don't know, Robert Roode or something, you know? So at the very least, I don't think that Sheamus and Cesaro are going to reform the Bar anytime soon. But they might feud.
I think
Anything is better than Sheamus and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. If it's going to be Sheamus and Cesaro, I'm okay with it.
I'd say the Bar at the moment is pretty much one comeback. They'll keep them separated for a little while. I'd personally like it to be a situation where Sheamus comes back. Maybe he does come back as babyface, but whether it's a babyface or a heel, they just come back. They keep them fairly separated on the roster, and then in the Royal Rumble, they're both in the ring at the same time, and they just look at each other. Like, they haven't touched or they haven't even interacted on SmackDown yet. And then maybe there you could kick off a feud. But I'd keep them separate at least until the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, it can't be that hard to keep them separate for, what, 5 weeks? 6 weeks? Something like that?
Yeah.
So they could do that. And
watch him come back, and that's his first match back is against
very first segment, he just beelines right to Cesaro and he goes, "Hey, that's the Bar. We're the Bar. Remember, we were the Bar. We're going to tag again." You know. But we'll see how that works out. I hope for the best, obviously, and I don't think the WWE has a game plan for a lot of this stuff necessarily. So I don't think that we can really be like, well, their plan for Morrison is this, and Cesaro is going to do this with Sheamus and whatever. I don't think that they have even 3 matches planned for WrestleMania yet. So I don't know. But that's going to do us in for the mailbag, at least as far as these questions. I mentioned before, not a whole lot of questions this time around, but yeah, that's perfectly fine. We got another mailbag coming up in January. So think about some other questions that you would like to submit to us and go ahead and do that whenever you want to. You can do it well in advance, and I will backlog is the thing I should say, not backtrack. I'll backlog those and we'll answer them when we do that, but that probably won't be happening for a little while because we have a lot of things to get through before that point. It's probably going to be the last week in January. Royal Rumble comes before that, obviously. We've got all the other things that are happening before that too, like Worlds Collide. We've got the NXT TakeOver Blackpool 2. We've got Future Endeavors forecast and one to watch. We've got a fan tracks coming up, the fan announce table, I should say. And we still have, the big thing that we're going to be doing pretty soon after this, which is the 2019 Smark Out Moment End of the Year Awards. We're actually going to start recording a little bit of that very soon throughout the whole week and everything. So that's going to be coming up next week as our main thing. And obviously we got the hot tags and stuff and everything else that's happening throughout this and the dark cast and blah, blah, blah. But, yeah. So thank you for the mailbag questions, everybody. And I've done most of my plugs already. I talked about Fanboys, talked about the merch shops, talked about Patreon, YouTube, following us all over the place on Facebook and Twitter at Smark Out Moment, and checking out the website and filling out your fan feedback survey, because that's very, very important. And also voting for the awards while you can. Do that as soon as you possibly can. And I want to pass the baton over to these guys because they've got plugs as well. Callum?
So biggest plug is, among all the other stuff that we're going to be putting out towards the end of the year, is the final edition of 2001: A Wrestling Odyssey. Yes, it is finally over. We are going into the December edition where we'll be talking about Vengeance 2001. And that's really kind of it, because funny enough, they decided to, even in 2001, they decided to basically wrap up everything and nothing much else happened. But there'll still be plenty to talk about, I'm sure. So me and Rob will be handling that sometime after Christmas. So it'll be towards the end of the year. We'll end the year in Smack Talk with a bang. And then you can check out the power rankings as well as all the other weekly articles on smarkoutmoment.com, and follow me on Twitter at Wigmeister14.
And you can follow me on Twitter at DudeFelice. I'm also DudeFelice on Instagram. Check out WrestleZone.com. Check out Fightful.com, Fightful Select, the WrestleZone Daily, all that good stuff. And if you want just my articles, you can go to RobertDFelice.com.
And you should follow everything that's happening under A Mango Tree at A Mango Tree. Follow me at Tony Mango, and check out all the things on Fanboys and Smark Out Moment and anything else that might be happening, because you never know. I don't know. So if I don't know, you don't know. That's how things work. But that's going to do us in for this. Again, thank you for your comments. Thank you for your support. Thank you for sending the questions in. Thank you for listening. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.